The one and only Patrick McEnroe is here. ESPN tennis commentator. You have no doubt seen him and watched him on the coverage of Wimbledon. Now, just so people know, keeping it a buck, because of the time we're recording and the time difference and all this stuff that's involved. I'm in Las Vegas, he's in London. The thing we're doing here is I'm focusing mostly on the men, not because we're ignoring the women, but the women's match will be taking place between the time that we do this conversation and the time the show airs for much of the country in the U.S. and Canada. We're not ignoring the women, just letting people know that, because it's a great Final Four for the women as well, involving Coco Gauff. This men's semifinal has everything you could possibly want, Patrick. It's got Cinderella stories. It's got the old GOAT in Novak Djokovic. It's got Sasha Zverev, who just unleashed, hopefully a lot of people think, his potential after winning his first slam at Roland Garros. And it's got the number one player in the world. I mean, what more could you possibly ask for?
I guess the only other thing you could want is Alcaraz, but considering he didn't show up here with the injury, we've got everything else. You're 100% right. I got to start with the kid that played at Stanford, my alma mater. He's English. Well, he's actually sort of French and English. His parents are both French, okay? And he was born in France, but he grew up literally, I'm at Wimbledon right now, as you said, in one of our ESPN studios. This kid literally grew up like a couple miles from Wimbledon. We used to come here as a kid, used to practice here as a kid. Then he went to Stanford for a couple of years. He was a top junior in the world, but he didn't think he was just quite ready enough to go on to the Pro Tour. So we spent 3 years at Stanford, left a couple of years ago, and has kind of been working his way up, doing pretty well, but nothing spectacular. He was on the cusp of being directly accepted by his ranking. He was 114 coming in. But he wasn't high enough, so they gave him a wild card, just like they gave one to Dimitrov, like they give to up-and-coming, English players, etc. Most of them bomb out in the first or second round, okay? And this is the first British player, and they've given out something like, I said it during the match yesterday, I think it was something like 250-plus wild cards over the years here to British players, and he's the only one, forget about getting to the semis, that made it to the quarters. I was mesmerized by his game yesterday. I hadn't watched him that much, Jason, but I called the win yesterday against Flavio Cobolli, who just made the finals in Paris. And this kid was flying around the court. I mean, it was impressive to watch him. He seemed like he'd been there forever. He had beaten Dimitrov in a fifth-set tiebreak, and he was just eating it up. Center crowd, he had him eating out of the palm of his hand, and he just broke Cobolli down. He broke his spirit. 2 close sets, and then Cobolli went away. So now he's got the opportunity to play in the semis, as you said, against Alexander Zverev, who's playing the best he's ever played, period. Okay? And he's playing the best by far he's ever played on grass. He destroyed Taylor Fritz in the quarterfinals yesterday. Fritz seemed to be a little nicked up with a knee injury. So that's that matchup. Zverev certainly going to go in as a huge favorite. And then, as you said, you've got Jannik Sinner, who's got a little something to prove, I think, to himself. It's going to be hot. It's brutally hot today, in fact, for the women's semifinals. It's going to be pretty hot tomorrow, not as hot as today, high 80s likely. So after what happened in Paris, where the Heat beat him, and also after, maybe more importantly in this matchup, Jason, that he's playing Novak Djokovic, who beat him in Australia in the semifinals, which at that moment was a huge upset. And by the way, it would be a huge upset in the odds makers' minds again if Djokovic can beat Sinner for a second time this year and do it again at Wimbledon.
Even on grass, it would be that big of an upset if Djokovic could beat him?
I think so. I mean, Djokovic had to play a very taxing last match in the quarterfinals. I know he's got 2 days off, but that's overrated in my mind. If the legs are tired, they're going to be tired after a day off or 2 days off. And Sinner, up until that match they played in Australia this year, Jason, Sinner had been absolutely dominating Djokovic. He dominated him here last year on grass in the semifinals, on clay, beating him on hard courts as well. I think Sinner is a solid favorite. Does grass give Djokovic maybe a better chance even than you could say on hard court like in Australia? Probably, because he's been such a great grass court player. The points usually can be a little bit quicker with big serving. So, as the match goes on, it should favor Sinner. But the Heat now a little bit of the X factor to see how Sinner, if he gets into a tough physical battle, and if it's very hot, which will be in the back of Djokovic's mind, if I can hang in there with him. But just shot for shot, Sinner's hitting the ball bigger off both wings. He serves bigger. Djokovic has a little bit more variety and his experience, coming to net, using some different angles and slices and drop shots. But overall, if you just go toe-to-toe, shot to shot, Sinner's got more firepower.
Fery and Zverev, to go back to that match for a second, and I know why it's near and dear to you too. The whole college tennis thing has been, front-facing for you in a lot of the conversations you've been having with people. But to break it down from a match that, really is David versus Goliath. He's 5'9". I don't know if we mentioned that in this conversation.
Yeah.
That is, by today's standards in tennis, you don't see guys that size.
No, you're 100% correct. Highly unusual, particularly at the highest level. But this guy uses the grass as well as anyone that's playing, meaning he can hit the ball flat. He moves into both corners. He slides on the grass. He uses a slice forehand as a defensive shot. He comes to net, beautiful drop shot. But you're right. Zverev is 6'5", or whatever he is, and he's got a massive serve, and he's playing with that freedom, as you said. Now that he's won the major, he can say whatever he wants, which is true, that he says, I'm playing better, I'm just playing better. But that monkey was a gorilla that was on his back. And now you can see he's playing with some freedom. His serve is massive. His ground game is massive. He moves well. But this guy, Fery, is going to have to figure out a way to get Zverev out of that comfort zone, just behind the baseline. Use the drop shot, try to come to net. It'll be fascinating to see what he tries to do. He may just get overpowered, but if he can get into some rallies, keep it close, I think it'll be interesting.
I'm holding you for one more, but in the last 30 seconds of this segment, in your mind, has Zverev been unleashed now because of that win at Roland Garros? Could we have a big, I know if you want to include Djokovic, a big four right now, at least for a little while?
Well, I think he's got a shot to do that. I think if he plays Sinner in the final, either here or, the Alcaraz comes back, let's say at the Open, he'd still be the underdog. But the fact of the matter, now that he's won that big one, I think it'll allow him to play his best tennis in the majors. And he's always been a great player in the majors. Never been a great player at Wimbledon, but now he's starting to think, you know what? Why not? Why can't I win a couple more of these?
Joined by our friend Patrick McEnroe, who's at Wimbledon for ESPN, hanging out on the set over there. We're talking to him during the women's semifinals, just so people understand why we're not talking about the women's semifinals, because by the time you see this, we will know who's meeting in those finals of the women's event at Wimbledon. So we focused on...
It is worth noting, though, Jason, This will be the 10th consecutive year that there'll be a first-time Wimbledon ladies champion. So I know Coco has won a couple majors. She's the only one that's won, she's won 2, but she's never won Wimbledon. She's never even been this far, the semis. So, yet again, the 10th different winner in 10 consecutive years. Pretty amazing.
And I'm so glad you bring that up, because it dovetails beautifully into the whole conversation about Serena Williams and this comeback she's attempting to make at the age of 44. She lost in the first round. If you blinked, you might have missed it. She was there, and then she was gone from the singles event because she lost early on to Maya Joint. I want to get your takeaway, as much as you can get from one match,
right?
Not having any singles lead into it, and just being out there and doing her thing. She looked slimmer. She looked trimmer. She's obviously going to have to get her conditioning, for playing in these singles matches. What was the overall takeaway for you from watching Serena in that match?
Well, first of all, Jason, you got to tip your cap to her for just doing what she did. At 44, she has nothing left to prove, but she wanted to come back, and to do it at center court Wimbledon takes some guts. Let's be honest. I don't care how many titles you've won. To do that is pretty impressive. So here's what I took away from her match. There was a couple of things I was looking for. Obviously, the speed on the serve, which pretty much she had. The same kind of speed on the serve. I was looking for the speed moving in and out of the corners. She didn't really have that at a high level. She was hitting the ball well. I mean, when she got the ball in her strike zone, I was impressed with the way she was hitting the ball. When the ball was in her vicinity, she moved okay, like the footwork was pretty good. But when she got stretched and she got to a corner, she didn't really have that ability to explode to one side or the other and cover, the next 2 or 3 balls. So that's something that could probably get a little bit better. But apparently she put it out on her Instagram. She hurt her knee, and that's something that's not surprising given, it was a tough 3-set match. Mm-hmm. She fought back to win the second. She could have lost it in straight sets. I thought she hit the ball pretty darn well. But I think what she also realized, at down a set and a break, was that her normal shot, like the way she had played when she had retired, 4 years ago in those last couple of years, wasn't doing much damage. And this was against a solid player, but not a top player. Mm-hmm. And then she realized she had to ramp it up and even hit the ball bigger, which she was able to do. But whether she can do that consistently once she plays against the top players, I think is a huge question mark. And she was hoping to play doubles with sister Venus. She tried to get the knee, better, for a couple days, but she eventually pulled out of the double. So it sounds like she's going to try to play again this summer, a tournament or two, and then of course come back to New York and give it another go at the U.S. Open.
I can't wait to see it. I'd like to see her at her very best by the time we get to the U.S. Open, whatever that very best at 44 may wind up being. Can I ask you, I don't want you to scoop your interview with Roger Federer, because I think it was you and Mary Jo Fernandez did a 2-on-1 with him over there at Wimbledon. I know it's going to air on Friday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern over on SportsCenter or on I can't remember. Is it going to be on
a breakfast show?
Breakfast show.
That's what it is. We have a breakfast show, so we're leading into the semifinals.
Yeah. So what was I don't know how much you've talked to Roger over the last few years, but what was the big takeaway that came from that conversation with him, in sort of summarizing the conversation?
Well, first of all, the first thing I asked him was, why does he come back, to these tournaments? He loves it, he says. He says he just absolutely loves tennis. He loves to be around the sport. They showed him, he came to the Royal Box one day this week, and he was the only one sitting there because they all go off in between matches to get tea, and he was there. Respect to the players and to the game. I mean, he's just all class. He actually did a clinic with him the day before, Jason, for the International Tennis Hall of Fame. As you know, I'm the president.
Yep.
And he donated his time to us to do one day of events for us, one of which was helping run a clinic for kids here that the Wimbledon program supports. So we partnered with them. So I got to go out on the court with him and Kim Kleister's my co-president, who's also a Hall of Famer. And he just is amazing. And anything he does with the kids, we had a little reception for him later in the day with him and some of our big donors. And again, he's just so relaxed. I think he appreciates now more. I asked him, actually, it was interesting. I asked him about that 3-year window, 04 to 06, when he averaged 5 losses a year. I think it was like 4, 6, and 5 over those 3 years. And I said, what do you remember about that? And he actually said something really interesting. He said, I don't really remember that much about it because it was sort of the beginning of my career, and everything, I was just on the road. It was just go, go, go. And I didn't have the same perspective, that I had later in my career, and obviously that he has now that he hasn't been playing. But he loves the sport. I think, to me, he's more popular now than he's ever been, which is amazing. He walks in, he looks like James Bond, but he always has that attention to give to other people, and I think that's what makes him so special.
Do you feel like he's found his niche outside of tennis? A lot of athletes struggle with that. Do you feel like he's found that one thing?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, he's so comfortable in who he is, and he still loves to get out there, he says, and hit a few balls. He's actually going to play an exhibition match before the U.S. Open. He's going to play one for us up in Newport at the Hall of Fame, which is going to be amazing, with some other Hall of Famers. That's going to be a lot of fun. So I think he loves to still play. He says, I like to hit the ball. I don't like to, play competitively anymore. But yeah, I think he's busier now than he was when he was playing, Jason, because he's in such high demand. And the thing I love about Roger is that when he says he's going to do something, he does it. And they were, at the end of the clinic, all the kids, of course, came up to him to get the autograph, and it was very controlled. No one else was allowed on the court, no press. None of the parents, none of our Hall of Fame board people, everybody had to be away, because when Roger's there, he's going to give 100% attention to who's there. And he did that to those kids. And in fact, at one point, I kind of got the memo from, hey, we need to Roger's got to go to another event. We need to get him out of here. So I was like, hey, kids, and he was totally calm and cool, Jason. He signed every single thing.
Patrick, I got to go, and I know you got to go, but real quick, who winds up winning it on the men's side?
I think it's got to be Sinner. I think he's got something to prove. I don't see anyone beating him, but I think it's going to be a very interesting 2 men's semifinals for different reasons.
Absolutely. Patrick McEnroe, ESPN, and catch him on Mad Dog Radio on Saturday mornings as well. Thank you, my friend.
All the best, Jason. Always good talking to you.